Good day, my name is Kathy and I'm going to be doing a deal desking session. So the first thing you wanted to do when you're doing deal desking is customer comes in the door. So you could click on the word new under opportunity, but we suggest you use the word swipe because that's the fastest way to look through your customer database. So it's a single click, and by default it's going to put your name in here if you're a salesperson. So if you're doing it at somebody else's desk, the swipe, you can actually use the drop down and find yourself in the list. So if we click the word OK at this point, if we were at a desk with a driver's license swiper, we could actually just hold the license up and take the picture and it would go through the database. I don't have a swiper at my desk, so I'm just going to press enter. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring up the list of all the customers in the database. And what that's going to do is, like I said, it gives you a list of 16,716 records. You'll see we have a select customer, but we do not have an add new customer because at this point here, we don't actually have the information enough to add a new customer. We want to make sure that you look through the database and don't put the same customer in there more than once. So the customer says their last name is Jones. So I type in the word Jones. And you'll see here we've got lots of different Joneses. We've got up 61 Joneses. And what that means is, once again, we still don't have an add new customer because we haven't proven we've looked through everything. You could use the slider and go through and find everybody, but once again, we could go here and we could actually start typing in the customer's first name. So we typed in a J-E-N. So you'll see here we've already got a Jennifer Jones. So if we thought it was the same person, we could actually go over here and look at the information here. And there's some phone numbers. There's no actual address or postal code or any other information. So it may or may not be the customer. You could say to the customer, okay, is your phone number 858-931? And they may say, no, my phone number is, and give you a different number altogether that do not match either one of these. So at this point here, you can actually click on the word add new customer, or if this was the customer that already existed, you could click on select customer. But at this point, we're going to click on add new customer. And what that's going to do is, I wish this mouse would work better, fill in the information. Now we just typed in Jen and this person's name is Jennifer, and because we already know there's another Jennifer Jones in the system, maybe we're going to ask, well, do you have a middle name, Jennifer? And she may say yes, it's Iris. So now you have Jennifer Iris Jones that will maybe differentiate from the other Jennifer in the system. At this point here, we have enough information to continue. Now obviously you're going to want to get the customer's address and some sort of communications, phone numbers, emails, work emails. You have multiple different types of communications, but at this point it's possible you don't have any extra information for the customer, or you just want to keep doing the numbers. You always have the ability to go back into the customer information and add it at a later time. So at this point here, we're just going to do save and close. Now it's saying, what would you like to do next? You want to add a road test, interested in, or create an opportunity? We suggest you use this to create the opportunity because this way you'll have all the information in one spot. So we're just going to click on the word opportunity. And so what's going to happen here is now we've got the screen up, the opportunity screen. There's the customer information. If we had a buyer, co-buyer, all that information would be there. It's saying it's current visit because we use the swipe button. There's nothing else on here that is of interest that will tell you anything at this point. But a customer comes in the door, they're interested in a vehicle. So at this point we're going to click on the word add. And we're going to actually add from stock. So we're just going to click on stock/quote. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring us up a list of all the vehicles that are in stock, or if what we choose is not in stock, we could actually put a quote vehicle in. So we're going to do a 2015 Nissan. Now already it's made my list small enough I could say, okay, these are the particular vehicles that we've got in stock, or I know that you're interested in a Pathfinder. You'll see here we've got two GTRs on here. You'll see one has a package and one doesn't have a package. You could use that particular information to sort your list to be smaller, or you could have just typed in a stock number in this white box under the name stock number, under the word stock number. If we wanted more information about the vehicles, you just use this slider. This will give us the transmission, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, 4x4, the different options that are on the vehicle, the different body style. Just gives you some more information about that. So I've decided that Jennifer would like to look at the Nissan Pathfinder, so I just highlighted that, and I can either double click on this line or click on the word select. So I'm going to click on the word select at this particular point. Now, once again, we've got the vehicle picked. There's the retail price of the vehicle. We have a couple of options at this point. We can actually use what we call payment options, and what that will allow you to do is give the customer multiple choices or multiple payments on one screen. So I'm going to click payment options, and we're going to do Nissan new payment because this is a Nissan new vehicle and we want to do the payment options. It's going to ask us a couple of questions first. What interest rate are we going to be doing on a loan? You'll see Nissan in particular has a lot of different interest rates going on right now. They have your standard loan rates, they have your special finance, they have this Advantage one, and then there's another set of loan rates here. There's different criteria for these different loan rates, and I'm at a dealership, you would know those criteria. We're going to pick the special because that's always usually the lowest one here. You'll see how that when I put my mouse over this, sometimes there's a different message on it. It's called a tooltip. There's not really a lot of different information about these different ones here. So I'm just going to pick the financed one. These here are the incentives that are available. We could pick these now or we can pick these later. At this point I just want to pick the rate, so we're just going to do a select. Now that was the loan rates. Next it's going to ask you about lease rates. Once again, there's just happens to be two, special and standard. So I'm just going to click that and click on the word select. There's one more question it's going to ask, and this pertains to leases. Are they going to be doing a standard kilometer lease or a low kilometer lease? Nissan has just standard and low. We have based on this particular vehicle at least. There's some manufacturers that have ultra low and some have ultra low. It's based on the vehicle. So I'm going to pick standard, which means $24,000 a year. The upfront charge is 8 cents. If they go over at the end, it's 10 cents. So we're just going to click the select button. And it's going to finish calculating this window for us. And you will see here there's the customer information, the vehicle they're looking at. Here is a cash deal. We've got 6 loan choices here. This line here is 0% down. This $0 down. This is $2,000 down. And there's the different terms. This is the lease section here. There's the terms again. There's the interest rate. There's the residual. This is 0 down, and this is $500 down. And this is based on a 24,000 kilometer lease. You'll see these are in green. And you'll see over here, when I put it over there, that means these are current factory rates. If this were in yellow, it would be factory expired rates. And depending on how long the rates last, usually they're set up for a month at a time, but they don't always just make a change on the first of the month. It could be the second or the third, depending on the business day. So sometimes you're going to see factory expired up here. You can manually go into any of these boxes and change it, because you'll see here if I changed it and it's in white, I could say, okay, for 60 months it should be 2.49. If I click there, this is turned into white, which means it's a user entered value. And it's just a visual presentation of the value that you've manually changed it. If I changed it back to the 2.9, it's still going to, even though that is the default value, the factory current, because I've manually gone in and changed it, that's what that 2.9 is going to do. You'll see here these are monthly payments. You could actually use the drop down and change these so that they are weekly, bi-weekly. It could be that it starts that particular way. Would be the bi-weekly rate, and this would be bi-weekly payments with this amount down. That would only apply on this screen here. It would not apply down here because these are still monthly payments. Now what happens is there are incentives out there, a lot of incentives for December. If we clicked on our all incentives, this would show all incentives for this particular vehicle for this particular time frame. You will notice over here there's a check mark under loan and lease but not under cash. So if I picked gift to you, it would apply it to the loan and it would apply it to the lease, but it would not apply it to the cash deal. So if I click on select there, there's also some that apply to the cash deal, like the non-stackable cash, the trading dollars, and this Highlander Conquest. Now we don't go out and check to see that the trade-in is a Highlander. That's up to you to make sure that you actually make sure that it is a Highlander. You will see that if I hold my mouse there, there actually is a tooltip that talks about the bulletin that you need to see for details. So if I also check this in here, it's going to uncheck that above. So I'm just going to leave the gift for you and apply selected. So what's going to happen is that's going to apply those to the loan and the lease, but not the cash deal. So if I just wanted to put something on the cash deal, I could click my incentives button here, and this would show you my ones that are available for a cash deal. So I'm going to say I'm going to take these ones here. Now, a lot of times this actually doesn't go to dark blue, but it is highlighted. You'll see we have what we call an auto add as an incentive, add as in credit. You should always be able to click on the word auto add so it will apply it properly. But if you find that for some reason it's not applying it the way it's supposed to be, that somehow the data is in there incorrectly, you can click on add as incentive, add as credit, depending on what you feel it should be or know it should be. But if you find that you have to do this add as incentive and add as credit instead of using the auto add, please contact our office and we will get it corrected, or we will confirm with you that we are doing it correctly. So if you click on auto add, you will see up here it's put it as an incentive, which means it's lowering the price of the car. You will also see that the non-stackable trading dollars have become pinky red. That means that Nissan has told us if you take the non-stackable cash, you can't take the trading dollars. You could still have your Toyota Conquest, assuming the customer was trading in a Toyota Highlander. So at this point here, if there's nothing else you need to do, you can click OK. If there's an incentive we don't have, you can manually add it using the add button, but once again, please contact us to let us know that you're missing an incentive. And we can just click the word OK right now. And you will see over here there's the MSRP, and now there's the selling price, and that will include that particular incentive. If we wanted to just go and look at our loan in terms of incentives, we could just click on Loan 1 here. We'd already applied that incentive, so you'll see it's already applied here. If you needed to change anything on here, like the license, or put any fees in here, non-taxable fees, that would be like gasoline and whatever. These are usually set up as defaults at your dealership, so normally you would not be changing any of these. This would be the warranties, the protection. That's usually the F&I office that will do something on those. So that's not something you normally do when you're desking. Customer wants to put that in there, you can actually use those buttons to do that. Taxable fees, if they want to know what they are, that would be, this is for some reason it's set up to start with CarProof, OMVIC fee, air tax, loan, but this is only on the loan. It's not on the lease or the cash deal because we just have this loan here. So we can click OK here. If we want to go back to the cash deal, then by default this is the cash deal. So you can discuss this with the customer. This is 0 down, this is 2,000 down, once again, as I was talking about. You can actually print out for the customer what we call a customer proposal. And what that would allow you to do is you could actually just check off one item and print a proposal for the customer, or you can check off up to 3 items that you can print on there. And what we have is, we're just limited. I mean, there's only so much real estate. You could actually use your F11 key on here to print this screen here. So if you press your F11 key, this would actually allow you to print that screen. Anywhere in our system you do have the F11 key available that will do a screenshot of where you're at. Okay? But we're not going to print this here because this is just, you know, like this is maybe something you want to put in the deal jacket, but you wouldn't necessarily want to give to the customer. So we're just going to cancel on that print. But if we wanted to actually print something out that looked a little nicer than that, we could say, okay, there's a loan, $2,000 down. Maybe they're interested in a 48-month lease with nothing down and a cash deal. So I've got 3 items checked. If I click on the word forms, what this is going to allow me to do is print a form. You'll see we have a print button. If we drop it down, this would actually do a print. If we wanted to print more than 1 copy, we could do print copies, or else we could just do a print preview, which we're going to do right now. And because I picked the multi, we are going to have the 3 of them on there. If I had picked the single, it would have picked the cash as the first choice. You have a choice of printing the APR, delivery date, obviously that's important, especially for interest rates and incentives. Who's going to sign off on it, and if there's additional comments you want to put on there, you can put them in this box here. I'm just going to click OK. And what this is going to do is it's going to put it on the screen in a period of time. This isn't exactly the fastest computer in the world. And what it's going to do is it's going to put it on the screen. There's the vehicle they're interested in. There's the customer's name. There's the options on the vehicle, your air tax, your tire tax, your OMVIC fee. And there's the information on a cash deal, how much they need to bring in on delivery. In each case, this was the $2,000 because it was a loan. On a lease, a lot of times it's just the first payment they have to bring into the deal. The $2,000 was reducing the price of the vehicle. And this was here because we had picked the $2,000 on delivery. There's your button there to actually print it out. If you wanted to print it out, you could email it as a PDF if you had an email address for the customer, so that you could email it to them if you wanted to. We're not going to do anything else. If we wanted to make the screen bigger to look at, that's what the zoom button. If it was a multiple page form, that's what these little buttons are for. So we're just going to click close on there, and we're going to click close here. So at this point, we have an option. We have an options of discarding and closing, which basically means all the work we just did, it's going to delete it. We could click on what we call save and close, and that would save all the information that we had done on here. It would not save the different check marks, but that would allow us to come back to it later. So if we click on save and close, at this point it actually hasn't put anything down here for the calculations, but you'll see the button now, instead of saying payment options, says recall options. So if I click on recall options at this point here, it's going to bring us back to this screen here. It's going to put everything back on here that we had before. It's going to keep what we did. Remember how we changed this interest rate? It's going to remember that. And it's going to remember anything else. If we click on discard and close, everything goes away. So I'm going to click back on payment options. I'm just going to start it again. And like I say, you would have to start it again. And once again, we would have to pick our special finance, so we can click select. Special. Select again. Standard kilometers, once again, we can select again. And because we started again, all those incentives have disappeared. So we could click the incentives if we wanted to. At this point, we're not going to click the incentives. We're just going to decide which one we want to do. So customer says, well, I really don't want to bring any money in. I'm interested in a 72-month loan. Once again, you'll see we had drop downs here, so we could have clicked on to go to an 84-month. So let's say we wanted to do an 84-month. I'm interested in no money down and this particular lease, and maybe a cash deal. So at this point here, what we can do is click on the word process, and what that will do is actually create calculations for us. So if we click the word process, you will see we have a cash, a loan, and a lease. None of them are what we call primary, so that at this point here, if we saved the deal, it wouldn't know which one it was that was the one we wanted to do, and if we printed any paperwork, it wouldn't know as well. So as soon as we go into calculations, though, you'll see here it's put a dollar bill, and it's going to say that the cash deal is the primary deal. Once again, we have an incentives button, so you can click your incentives button, and this will allow you to say, okay, this is the one I want, or maybe I want this one here. And once again, you just use your auto add, and it's going to put the amount in. So at this point here, we can just click OK, and you'll see now we've got a dollar bill here to tell us that we've actually applied an incentive. This is how much cash they're going to have to come in with on delivery. So what we say, the customer may say to you, well, I don't want to bring in that much money. We have a couple of options. At this point, we could click on the word roll due. How do we want to get there? Dealer discount, total selling price. Sometimes you advertise a total selling price. You have a taxable subtotal, trade allowance. There's no trade on this deal, so you're not going to use it. Value roll is an F&I option. So we're going to click on the word dealer discount, and we're going to just type in 47,000. You do not have to put in the 0.00, because by default we're going to assume it's going to be 47,000.00, so we can just click OK at this point. So you'll see here this number here will have changed, and this number here will have changed. We know that we had given them $12.50 as the trading dollars, I believe it was, as an incentive. So we know that the balance of that is going to be a dealer discount. We can click on yes for keep changes. If we want to know the actual discount we gave the customer, we can click on the word selling price, and you'll see the line dealer discount. If there was no dealer discount, there would be no wording over here. There would still be the box here where you could type it in, but this word wouldn't show. We just don't put the word discount on the screen until you give the customer a discount. So you'll see here, there's the information, there's your base vehicle, there's your factory options, there's your incentives, there's the discount, total price. So we can click OK here. OK, Mr. Customer, you can write me a check for $47,000 or bring in, well, actually you can't bring in $47,000 worth of cash because there's a lot of different reporting you would have to do. But whatever rules you would have for a customer coming in with $47,000, there you go, Mr. Customer. That's what you need to do. So at this point here, if that's all you wanted to do, customer says, okay, yes, lovely, I want to do a cash deal. There's a primary. We can click OK, and now you'll see it's got that beside a cash deal. We actually can now print deal forms if we needed to. Everything would be done. We're done. We've desk the deal. We could, at this point here, if we turned off our computer, you will see here the word new. There's no number there. That means it's not saved. You'll see it says current visit. If the customer has a co-buyer or a spouse, those aren't here right now. So if we wanted to actually add a co-buyer, we could just click on this button here. And this is the, anytime you see eyeglasses, that's the search field. So if we type in Jones here right now, once again, we have all the different Joneses. We could just type in the customer's, the first name. So there's Ted Jones is already in the system. If we had put an address in here, we could actually have used this system to search by an address. And we can click on, it could have searched for a particular address. We don't have an address for the customer, so that's why that wasn't a choice. So we can select Ted, and now you'll see that we have Jennifer Jones and Ted Jones. Now it could be that you do some number crunching with them and say, oh, by the way, I don't want the deal to be in Jennifer Jones' name. I want it to be in Ted Jones's name. That's what this button here will allow you to do. It will allow you to switch co-buyer and buyer. So if we click this button here, you're going to get a warning, because sometimes if Ted Jones was in the system, he may not be your customer, he may be somebody else's customer. It's just going to tell you this may change who this shows up with as a salesperson. So it's just warning you that the salesperson on the deal may change, and when you go to look for the deal, it will no longer be in your name. And that's just warning you. If we wanted to remove Jennifer from here, we could do that, and that's what this is for. But in this case, we want to flip it back to Jennifer. Once again, we get that message. And if we wanted to get rid of Ted as a co-buyer at this point, we could just use this button here, and Ted's no longer there. We're not deleting him from the system, we're just deleting him as a co-buyer on this deal. Now, after all this we've been playing with, Jennifer may decide, okay, maybe I want to do a loan or a lease. So if we go back into our calculation screen, and you'll see we've already got a loan calculated, so we could just highlight that and double click on that line there. We do not need to click the Add Loan button at this point because we've already got a loan calculated. It's an 84-month loan. There's your interest rate. It's a monthly loan. We have the options. Oh yeah, you're interested in biweekly. You can just click that button and it automatically flips to biweekly here for you. We can go and change the term. We could go back to we could go to 72 months. You will see here now it didn't automatically make the change. We got this recalc button. If you get a recalc button, you just need to click recalc. And now it's going to be 72 months at 3.9%. If we wanted to change the interest rate, if we discovered that they were no longer eligible for the special rate, if you click on your APR button here, this will give you the options here to change to the standard, or the advantage. But we're just going to go back to here again. So once again, we've got this percentage here. If the customer gives you a deposit, that's what this button here is for. So if you just click on the word deposit and click on the word new. So let's say they gave you some cash. Let's say they gave you $500 in cash. By default, it's showing that I took it. Now, it could be after hours and the regular person that writes receipts is not available. You always have the ability to print a receipt out of here. So if we just click on the word print receipt, it's going to actually calculate, you know, the numbers and everything, and it's actually going to give you the ability, this is your maximize button, to actually print a receipt. There's your print button, and you can print multiple copies. Use this to print multiple copies of the receipt. So you give one to the customer, one goes in the envelope, and you put it where you'd put cash after hours, and maybe one goes into the deal jacket to show it. So that will just show that you took $500 from Jennifer Jones, and that you can do that very easily. Obviously, during the day, probably that's not what you're going to want to do. You may want to do this. You'll see here we have a button that says don't apply to calculation. So it could be that you need to take a deposit from a customer, but you don't necessarily want to apply it to the deal, that when they actually pick up the cart, that money is going to be returned to them. It will show on the screen that you've taken that $500 deposit, but you're not applying it to the deal. But we're going to use this $500 and actually apply it to the deal. If at a later date, you know, they gave you a check, and it gets voided, that's what this void button will do. And you could void the current transaction. And you can click close. And so now you'll see we've got our $500 deposit in there. There's no money due on delivery. Customers may say to you, okay, I want to bring some money in on delivery. You could also use this due on delivery to show that they're going to bring some money in. We don't have any incentives on this one here. We have no discount. So if I click my selling price, you'll see here the word dealer discount no longer shows. If we wanted to do incentives, we've got the ability to pick incentives from this screen here. There's the non-stackables, the conquest cash, the gift to you. This loyalty is a percentage, so it would actually lower if they were trading in a Nissan. then you could use this, and if you click on the word auto add, you'll see here it actually becomes a rate reduction. You can no longer have the trading dollars, you can still have the conquest or the gift to you. So I'm just going to click OK, and we're going to click OK here, and you will see here that it should have applied that 1%, and it doesn't appear to have. So it could be that this only applies to the standard rates and it does not apply to the special rates. Okay, so it did apply at that time when we used that. So for whatever reason, it didn't apply it properly the first time. So you have to be aware, even though you choose something, you want to make sure that it actually does apply it properly. And you'll see here we've got that button there. So at this point, they say to you, well, how could I get a payment of? So that's what we use our roll payment button here for. We could give them a dealer discount, but maybe at your place you're not allowed to give dealer discounts. You could use due on delivery. If we had a trade-in, once again, we could use the trade allowance to change it. You have an advertised sale price, a taxable subtotal. But let's say you can do a dealer discount. So they want a payment of $325 bi-weekly for 72 months. So you could type in $325. You could click OK here. And you'll see you're going to have to give them a discount of about $2,000. If that's okay, you can click on the word yes. There's not a lot else you're going to want to do on this particular screen here, but it could be at this point here they've agreed the $325, and then they say, oh, by the way, I've got a trade. You can click on this gross trade button. You don't have to put a trade in. You could just type in here, I'm going to give you $5,000 for your trade. If you actually knew how much the lien payout was, do you owe money, you could do that. You have the ability to sort of ballpark how much their current the payout would be is by compute payoff. So what's your current monthly payment? And this would be, you know, like once again, you could do weekly, bi-weekly. Somebody's trading in right now, they're probably having a monthly payment, so let's say they're paying $450 a month. What was your interest rate? I don't know. Although you could put in 10%, and at least that way, unless they were actually financially challenged, you're probably going to cover it at least. Number of payments, this is the amount of their original loan. So if they're trading in right now, maybe their original loan was 60 months, 5 years. How many payments have you made? I've made about 48 payments. So they owe approximately this amount. This isn't going to replace the phone call, email, whatever to get it, but at least it will allow you to continue doing the deals. So if you want to use this number here, you're just going to click the word export, and now it's going to say that's how much they have on the lien payout, and this is how much you're going to give them for their car, so you can just click OK. You will see here you've got a little triangle. It's just a warning saying they've got negative equity. It's not going to stop you from saving anything. It's just a visible warning to say, well, you know, you got to watch out. They have negative equity. And that's what this is going to do. So at this point here, you've got your loan amount sorted out. There's your your biweekly payment, and you're done with that. If we click on our deal disclosure, what this is going to do is it's just going to make the screen a little simpler. Okay? So what it's going to do is it's got your vehicle price, your trade allowance, your lien, your deposit, how much on delivery, and there's your monthly payment. Or biweekly payment, sorry. 156 payments up. We've got our roll payment button. This just, like I said, makes things simple for you. We could do our roll payment. We know they want to do their $325, so we could go back to selling price and we could type in our $325 and click OK. And it would actually change the discount a little bit and give them less of a discount, but they still would have their $325 payment bi-weekly. And we could click the word close here, and it's going to come back here as that. There's really nothing else on this screen here you would need to do. Tools. Interesting. We have a couple of choices here. You're probably never going to use this. This is more an F&I thing. Fuel comparison. So we know that they're currently trading in a vehicle. So the price of fuel when I came in this morning was 94.6. So we put in, this is based on dollars, so if it was $1 something, you would put that dollar in. How many kilometers do they normally drive a year? Let's say they drive 25,000 kilometers a year. What's the trade-in they've got? We know they're paying $425 a month. It could be a great big huge truck. We already know it's a Nissan, so it could be one of those great big huge Nissan Titans, I believe it is. So maybe the trade-in consumption usually is 10 liters per 100 kilometers. If I then click here, you'll see that the monthly fuel savings will be about $21 a month. Not a lot of money, but once again, you can say to them, well, you know, that's because the price of gas right now is maybe artificially low. In a couple of months, when it's got back to $1.50 or whatever disgusting amount it is, you're going to be saving more. So even though your monthly payment has gone up, you're going to be saving money on fuel. And that's just an easy way to say to them, okay, you know, like you're progressing. Now let's say for some reason their fuel consumption is lower. Let's say it was 8.4, and you're going to say now, you're going to click there, and it's going to be an extra $9 a month. You know, you're getting a brand new car, you've had your car for 4 years, and it's only going to cost you a little bit more than $9 a month in fuel. That's really not going to make or break you. Once again, you can sell it either way. So we're just going to click close, and that's what this is. The other thing of interest in tools is if a customer comes in, you know how we did calculated our lien payout. We could have also gone into their original deal if they bought it at your place and clicked on amortization. And what this would do is, based on the fact that they would have made all their payments on time, it would say that at a certain period of time, after they make their first payment, this is how much they're going to owe. But if you had this in the deal jacket, you could say pick a particular date and say, okay, if you've made all your payments on time, this is the amount of money you would owe at this particular time. It just makes it easier. If you have it in the deal jacket, you could print this out for the customers so they would know, or if it's in the deal jacket, when you open it up and pull up their old file, you would actually know that, well, you owe approximately $36,000 on this particular date. This is based on biweekly, so you'll see that that's what this is. If you go to the last page, that's what this here will move you around. It will show you that at the end of it, you know, you owe zero amount of money. And they can use this if they're a business, and they can tell how much each month went to payment and how much went to interest. So that's how, just once again, out of the tools. So at this point here, we can click OK, and now you will see that the loan is the primary. If we save it at this point and it's picked up by the manager who's going to do some other things with the customer, we would always want to save and close if you're turning this over to a manager or the business office. You're never going to want to click save and have it open on your desk, because then what's going to happen is they may make some changes, you may make some changes, and one of you wipes out what the other staff was doing. If we wanted to go in to look at our lease right now, we can click on our calculations button. Now, because we gave it a discount, it's going to say, do you want to do an update on this particular vehicle? You can say yes, or you can say no, and it's only because we had closed the window before. So we're going to say no at this point here, and we're going to, if you click on here, selling price, once again we have no discount, and it could be, you know, other things are going on in the background. So if we wanted to change to our lease screen here, we could just click on our button here. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring up our lease screen. Really of interest to the customer is, what is my monthly payment going to be, and how much do I need to bring in on delivery? Now, because we put that $500 deposit in there, that's what that is showing there, so they only have to bring in $253. This screen here, we have the same ability to change the term, the rate, and actual, whether we do monthly, semi-monthly, weekly, bi-weekly. I know Nissan does semi-monthly. A lot of other leasing companies will do bi-weekly, or I don't know too many that will do weekly at this point. It's mostly bi-weekly. Nissan does semi-monthly, and we do have monthly here. Once again, we can change our term here, so we could type in 36, and then you'll see here We still have an interest rate, but we don't have a payment, so if we hit our recalc button, then it's going to change our payment. It's going to change our due on delivery. You're probably not going to do a lot of stuff on your lease screen unless you're very comfortable with doing leasing. There's our selling price. This particular bank has an acquisition fee. I didn't think leasing did, but this would follow the rules of whatever bank at your place would be doing the different fees and however they would set it up. You will see that we have what we call our upfront fees. These are amounts that the customer has to come with when they pick up the vehicle. These are finance, so these are all part of the monthly payment. If you're always having to make a change on this, let us know and we'll tell you how to set it up. So by default, it's always set to be upfront or financed. These arrows here will allow you to move an amount between upfront and finance. So if the license fee is supposed to be upfront, if you just use that arrow key, it'll move that $90 to be upfront. We'll actually have lowered the payment slightly because your capitalized cost has gone down, and your due on delivery will have changed because now it needs to have that $90, but your payment will have gone down. And this is all calculated for you. You don't have to do any sort of calculations. If you're waiving the first payment amount, you can click on this first payment amount and you could say it's waived. If there's a particular first payment amount that you need it to be, you could click on fixed amount. Let's say there's something going on. Nissan pays the first $400 of the payment. You could say, okay, your first payment amount is, and you could actually put it in there. But if it's actually waived, you can click on the word closed. And you'll see here now, this is in brackets, which means that you're going to have to cut the customer a check for $410 because they've given you a $500 deposit. We could do a due on delivery and actually say that we need to specify due on delivery. That's what this button will do. I'm not going to get very specific in here because each leasing company does things differently, and we can do a separate session on leasing. Okay. One other thing that might be of interest though is kilometers allowed. So right now we've set them up as they're going to do 24,000 a year. But remember how we said the customer said they were going to do 25,000 a year? So if we click on kilometers allowed, this is where we would type in, okay, the customer says I'm going to do 25,000 a year, which means that they're going to go over the limit, which means they're going to be charged. If they pay for it up front, it costs 8 cents. If they come in the dealership at the end and they've done it, and they've done more than the limit, it's going to cost them 10 cents. So a lot of times they're going to want to pay for it up front because it's cheaper to pay for. So if I click on that there, just off that screen there, it's going to be a $240 upfront charge. And all that means is it's going to be lowering the residual value of the vehicle by $240 because the value of the vehicle is going to be lower because there's going to be more kilometers on it. So we're just going to click OK here. You'll see that we've got 17,000 less the 240. This is how much it's worth, and that's the calculation will be based on that particular number. We put a trade-in on the loan, but because we only did it on that particular calculation screen, it's not going to apply to this one here. If we wanted it to apply to this one here, we could just click this button here and put the $5,000 in here. And maybe they're going to make do the payment themselves, and we can click OK. This here was what we would use to find the trade-in or build the trade-in. We can have, once again, up to 5 trade-ins here. So we can just click OK. There's that. Our payment's obviously going to go down. Based on that, we've said waive that first payment, so we still have this due on delivery. It could be that maybe with a trade-in that you're not waiving the first payment, but once again, this is what it would be. If we click OK here, the lease is going to be the one that the management will pick up. We can actually put our trade-in in here as well, because by default we don't have any trade-in in here. We can click on the word new. If it was a current customer and they already had a deal in the system, it would have had the trade-in on here. You don't need to use the trade. They may not use the trade-in on a particular deal. They may be keeping it. You can decode using a VIN like you do on a regular vehicle, or we could just say we've got a trading in a Nissan 2010 Frontier, and it was an automatic King crew cab, and then we just click the word build. It's going to fill in as much information as can. It's going to ask you about options. Normally we suggest that you make sure that, you know, like automatic or manual transmission is important. But a lot of times on a Nissan there's not a lot of other options. But in other dealerships there could be a lot of options. Unless you're 100% sure that that vehicle has it, don't pick it. We obviously have our color in here. Possibly we have the colors. It could be that on the 2010s I don't have the colors available to me. It doesn't look like it. We can type in here, because it's a white box, we can just type in the word blue. We can click on here to put the odometer reading, 4587, and so that we would have that information. At this point here, there's really nothing more we're going to do. We can just do save and close. And at this point, because it knows that we already gave it a 5,000 value, it's going to put that piece of information in there, and we can click OK. It's going to ask, do we want to add this to all deals? We could say no. We may just want to put it on one deal or none deals, or we can say yes, and that will apply that trade to all the deals. So that if we go back into our calculation screen, if we click on our gross trade button here, you'll see it actually has the Frontier on it. If we wanted to send it to the manager at this point with the cash, and you'll see it already has the trade on it. There we've got our trade in, and we can click OK. And at this point, when we save and close, we're all done with this. We can click save and close, and the manager can pick it up. And you've just desked a deal. Now, if you have our newest software, we're actually recording if you've actually done a write for the customer, which is basically printing out paperwork with some numbers. If you've done it, you can click yes. If you haven't done it, you can click no. And at this point, it's going to disappear from, the opportunity is going to disappear from the screen, and you can phone up your manager and say, okay, the deal's available to be looked at. It's not on your list right now. You'll see down here it says needs to be refreshed. So if you click your refresh button, there's your Jennifer Jones deal. So that's it. That's how we desk a deal. So if you have some questions after this, you can always pick up the phone and call us. Our number is 800-267-0524. But we also have a help button in here. And if we click on the word support request, what this is going to do is it's going to go out to the internet to our website and to the support section, and it's going to bring up a list of people that are working at a particular store. If your name is not on here, if we go down a little bit further, you can click on the add button and make sure the information is in here so that you can actually click your name here and it will come through to us. So if I click on my name here, need help with trade. And what that's going to do is when you submit it to us, I'm just going to put Test Kathy so that nobody tries to call you. If you click on the word submit, and only do that once, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get back here, it's going to say this would be your dealership name, this is who sent through the message, this would be the dealership phone number, and this is the message that would come through. From 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. on weekdays, we have somebody in the office, and they should return your call as quickly as we can get back to you. Sometimes we're all on the phone and we can't get back to you right away. The more information you have on here, we may fix the problem and then call you back. If it's after hours, we have after-hour emergency support from 5:30 to 10 p.m. on weekdays and from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturdays. We ask that if it's not an emergency, you could say call tomorrow when you send this message through, that you just came up with something you needed some help with and you don't need a call right away. If you call us and you leave a message after hours, once again, or even during regular hours, if it's an emergency, say the word emergency, need a call ASAP. If it's after hours, say morning call is fine, so that we, once again, you've left the message with us, we will follow up with you the next business day. Or if it's an emergency, we will be calling you back at some point. Hopefully very quickly, unless we're actually dealing with somebody else, but we will try and call you back as soon as we can. So that's how you can get in touch with us. I'm going to maximize the screen here so you can see it, and you'll see that further down the list here we have some other information. There was some security information about payment card companies, probably not your department. If you have some information about the CASL, that's the Canadian anti-spam legislation, we've got some information here. If you go a little bit further down this page here, one thing you may be interested in is the latest releases of Advantage Showroom. This is going to show you any sort of brand new features that you may not have, or you may have and you didn't know about that I haven't shown you today. This is a good place to go into every once in a while just to see what sort of new. We try and tell people when we make a change, the changes we've done, but it doesn't, all the changes don't necessarily get out. Your accounting parts and service department are more interested in this. This has nothing to do with the sales department at all, per se. So at this point here, if you're done with the web request, you just close that down, and session is over. It's been nice talking, and wait to hear from everybody. Thank you.